Across the Change Programme in West Yorkshire, I think we're particularly proud of the collaboration and commitment we've seen across both the local authorities and our individual LAs that work across schools, but also to innovate and drive practice and test different approaches ahead of the reform has had a real value in driving a collective commitment. I think for Wakefield specifically and across the broader spectrum of this programme, that focus on early help, prevention and having a real impact at the earliest stage, that original premise of right support at right time, and then translating that into a range of innovative programmes has really helped us to understand what our future local inclusion support offer looks like, but also brought us closer together as a partnership and had a real impact. As we move forward into this process from moving beyond the Change Programme into the reforms, we feel that the premise and focus of the reforms are particularly attuned to the focus across inclusion in Wakefield, but also across our broader partnership, be it health, be it schools, be it our families, and a special mention for the hard work of our PCF. They've been an absolute golden thread right across the Change Programme innovation pilots in Wakefield, but also in a number of areas in holding accountability of what's best for our children and our families. I think the strongest area of practice we've seen is actually that collaboration across schools looking up and working in a really collaborative way to drive different approaches to test working together, not defined by the name above the door or their organisation, but centred in the place and looking what's best for Wakefield, that innovation, that element of piloting different approaches, but also moving that to business as usual and putting us in a good place ahead of the SEND reforms feels a real key, and a massive recognition needs to go for our school leaders in that work of both owning the programme and then also driving different approaches across the system. I think some of the biggest challenges we've overcome is the different phases of the Change Programme. That movement in the first phase that was absolutely right around standardisation of approach, to then the latter stages giving more capacity to innovate and look at what was right for our place. I think from a Wakefield perspective, we've enjoyed the opportunity to work in collaboration in a defined way with our colleagues across West Yorkshire, but it's also bonded us together to support progress and move together beyond the Change Programme into the reforms and work more collaboratively across the broader footprint. From a broader position as well, it's also supported us to work in conjunction with our schools and really understand their need, their challenges, and bring that to the fore. So when we're designing innovation or intervention to support schools, we're looking at it from their perspective, and that's been key around really understanding that range of views that makes a holistic SEND partnership.
Hi, I'm Jackie Dundas and I'm from Wakefield. So my proudest moment of the Change Programme is it's really hard to think about because there's so many things I'm proud of that we've achieved over the last 3 years, but to name but a few, we've embedded our graduated approach, and this was a fully co-produced document that worked across schools, all settings, parent carers, health, education colleagues, social care colleagues, to really ensure we'd got that approach that every school was using to be able to meet the needs of young people at the earliest opportunity. We've also had a really exciting programme of working with our secondary leaders around developing inclusive cultures, and I think a proud moment that I can say is when a head teacher phoned me last week to talk about a pupil that they weren't meeting the needs of. It wasn't about that pupil, it was actually the school recognising that they needed to adapt how they worked with that young person to make it successful. And I think that was a direct response from the inclusive programme around how we can work together to understand needs and to be able to meet them so that young person could remain local. There's also a wide variety of projects that we've been able to trial. Our successful transition support practitioners are keeping young people in school and also supporting them to reintegrate back into mainstream school successfully. What I'm excited about is that I think Wakefield's got a really strong base to build upon. We've achieved loads through the Change Programme. I think at the moment we're all grappling with the SEND reforms, but actually we have a shared commitment around working together for Wakefield children to make sure their needs can be met locally. I think there's also been some excellent partnership working across the Change Programme, and that's both within the relationships we've developed with the other local authorities working with us, the sharing of ideas and encouraging each other. but also across the LA partnership as well. We've really developed our SENDAP board to really have the right people there to be able to be working together on the same strategies. I've also seen the relationship with our local authority maintained schools and our MATs really improve, and we're actually working together, and we've actually got common goals around children with SEND and around inclusion. The Parent Carer Forum have done some excellent work, commissioned through the Change Programme, working with settings to have coffee mornings to ensure that they build the relationships up between the key staff in school and also parents, so that they have more confidence that the school's going to be able to meet their needs, but also listen to them when things aren't working quite so well. Finally, the challenges. There has been lots of challenges, and I think firstly, grant funding is always a challenge when you're trying to recruit staff in roles where there's quite a shortage of staff, so you're not attracting the right people. I also think there are competing priorities across different systems, so we've really had to work together to understand what health might need, what social care might need, what education might need, and what settings might need. But you overcome these barriers by working closer together and have those honest conversations. We have also had to be creative, so where we've not been able to recruit a mental health practitioner, we may have looked at how we can do that in a different way, whether that's oversight from the CAMS team but employing another practitioner. So you do always have to be creative and also respond to what's needed locally as well.